Jehovah's Witnesses just had their 2023 update number 8. Being that Armageddon is right around the corner, what does God's one channel need to tell his people? A clarification of a particular style of facial hair. Yes, beards. It was all about beards. Stephen Lett took 19 minutes to explain their new position. Even though these have been on the naughty list for almost 100 years, the fact that this was even brought up is ridiculous. He started by explaining that members should present themselves as ministers. And of course, present yourself well, with outward adornment. You know, what matters is outside appearance, not what you're actually preaching. The announcement goes on to show a video about how men in the Bible had beards, like Moses and Jesus and even their founder, Charles Russell, like they've uncovered this great truth. So beards were once a normal part of God's people, but then culture shifted a bit last century, so beards were seen as rebellious. But now it's changed again, so it's acceptable. First, beards weren't wholly frowned upon. The shaving craze started in the early 20th century and was due to the rise in cheap manufacturing. Shaving and suits were no longer for the rich, so everyone took part. Culture shifted, and clean-shaven was now deemed respectful. If you couldn't afford even a razor, well, something was wrong. Well, JW certainly didn't want that, going so far in the 50s to say Jesus didn't even have a beard. Yet Letts said the reason for clean shaving was they didn't want to look like rebels. That didn't really start till 20 years after this anti-beard stance. Plus, not all hippies had beards. This all comes from their old belief that clean-shaven equals respectability, status, and appearing legitimate. But that's the world. Who cares what they think, right? The governing body is now basically saying, we take no part in the world, except that world that doesn't like beards, so neither do we. Now the world likes beards, so we like them too. See, with Jehovah's Witnesses, there has always been this obsession with image. However, the opposite is taught in Scripture. One of the best men ever to live, John the Baptist, dressed like a slob. Leather belt, long hair, ate locusts. He was underdressed by their culture standards. The Bible makes mention of this in Matthew 3:4. His attire was just humble and functional. He didn't care about the world standards. Jesus actually condemns people obsessed with the outside appearance. Matthew 23:27, calling the well-dressed Pharisees whitewashed tombs. Nice on the outside, dead on the inside. Even Jesus himself was a homeless carpenter and was probably not the cleanest person you met, because real ministry is messy. Are JWs really having the position of, if someone's preaching, we should really care about what they're wearing? If their clothes are from the bargain bin, we should ignore them. We should only pay attention to people with nice suits on. Even though they're saying, oh, we're just keeping up with the times. Fine. Didn't know God cared about that. But if that's the case, are you going to let women wear pants now? Now, all that said, the real issue was all those pretty heavy Freudian slips that Lett blurted out. First, he says the governing body has concluded there is a need to clarify. Wait, the governing body or Jehovah? Who exactly is in charge? He also uses the word clarify, which isn't right. Look, if there was a company and they had some mandate on beards that everyone was misreading, they might send out a message and clarify what they meant. This is a change, not a clarification. The stance just 3 days ago was abundantly clear. Beards weren't allowed, not even stubble. No one was giving talks with full facial hair. But in classic Watchtower fashion, they put the blame on others. Like, whoa, beards, they're fine. We just need to clarify that stance. I wouldn't be surprised in 20 years they start saying, oh, we were always fine with beards, just some brothers took it way too far. Here's another. The governing body does not have an issue with brothers wearing beards, because Scripture does not condemn the wearing of beards. Well, no crap! This is what everyone has been saying since the Bible was written. How did God's one channel miss that memo? This is again their leaders being a little too upfront with their flawed interpretation, admitting a long-standing policy wasn't scriptural, but apparently, who cares? The most disgusting part is the mention of people's feelings, where he gets passive-aggressive and threatens a natural response to the millions of witness men. First he says, some may feel vindicated. This is what I've been saying for a long time. This proves that I was right all along. Others may feel disappointed. I supported the policy of grooming for all those years, and I feel let down. Is either reaction appropriate? Not really. What? Actually, both are appropriate. What a normal person would say and think. Lett is demanding, hey, your job here isn't to think, it's to obey and not question us. You wouldn't want to make God upset, would you? Stay in line. Don't even bring it up. And if someone does, they're being disloyal to Jehovah's organization, and they don't belong. The excuse he uses is unity. No, you're demanding uniformity. This is super culty, demanding that members speak in agreement, which means you say only what you're told to say. He admits if you promote your own opinion or contradict the organization, you aren't being united. Anyone who does that needs to adjust their thinking and attitude, or else. Of course, if you don't think that way, then let's say, Jehovah values our loyal service. He appreciates our humble willingness to be obedient and submissive to the direction we receive from God's organization. Oh, now, you're controlling how people think, behave, dress, and even grooming, all while having the audacity to claim it's what God demands. In my opinion, nothing has screamed, "This is a high control group," more than this update. Just to show how much Let doesn't know about the Bible, he brings up circumcision, comparing themselves with the governing body from Acts 15. Now, 1, there was no governing body, as the church decided. 2, this was about not adding anything to what Christ taught. This wasn't an adjustment or a clarification. It was protection, a warning. Don't go beyond God's words. Otherwise, you get this. Look, this whole thing is a desperate attempt to keep people in. It's a band-aid on a bullet hole. The younger men are leaving in huge numbers, and a small part of that is over the bizarre, outdated beard position. Will this help? Time will tell, but I think the overall response from JWs isn't hooray, but I'm curious to see how this all shakes out, especially over the types of beards. This is okay, but not this, and not this either. Not too short, not too long, and no stubble. You best grow that beard quickly. Trimmers are set to 5 and nothing less. Let ends with the most manipulative statement. Are we not grateful for this direction? This is a leading question. You can't answer no. This announcement is nothing more than power-hungry charlatans who've corrupted the gospel of grace and controlling the lives of millions of people, even down to their choice of facial hair. Luckily, the Bible doesn't say to listen to men, but only Jesus. Doesn't matter what culture does around you, how you might be perceived. Jesus said you'll be mocked, misunderstood, and hated for his name. Christ isn't going to judge you one day based on your grooming. It's about, did you have a personal relationship with him? Did you love God? And did you love people? And did you fully trust in his person and work? Not trusting in a bunch of liars known as the faithful slave.